What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to watch for, what supports are going to be very, very key for today, what you should be watching for as time progresses. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, when it comes to the markets, I just wanted to mention that when it comes to SPY, we got a bit of a rejection so far from that 533 resistance, and we returned back down to our key EMAs. SPY is trying to hold right now around this support. We have 528 as a very, very key level. If we lose that, this is going to be dipping even more. If we hold that, we could try to rebound. So I'm going to break down what could end up playing out and some very important levels to watch for. Now, going back, the market had one of its best days since 2022 yesterday. But despite having such a good day, we are starting to dip a little bit this morning, and we'll have to see if the dip continues if we lose key supports or not. So notice how one day the market's pumping like crazy, the next day the market's rejecting. We've been going back and forth through that for quite some time. For data for today, it's Friday, August 9th, by the way, right now. There's not really any significant data that's coming out for the markets for today, so the market has a free day. And then when it comes to news, there's been a lot of headlines about the Dow and S&P 500 and Nasdaq composite pumping, but now things are shifting as we're starting to see the yen and the dollar being adjusted, not to mention more data that's coming out. There's a lot of talk about the jobs numbers that came out. That was very exciting for the markets, which is why it pumped. But now we'll have to see if this pump will last because, like I said before, the market is known for kind of pumping and then rejecting. And finally, thousands of JP Morgan Chase employees now have a generative AI assistant. Very, very cool stuff. It's going to, once again, help them in a lot of different ways. And this could be very, very useful for them for planning events, organizing data, and also for data analysis. That's what I've seen. So, very, very cool stuff for them. And last but not least, when it comes to data, the Fed right now is expected to give us either a 50 or a 25 basis point cut in September. Now it's almost 50-50 between the odds of those happening. That's how the market's kind of seeing things. A little bit of an adjustment after Barkin gave his speech yesterday from the Fed. So with that being said, what do I see for the charts? SPY got a rejection of 533 and started to dip a little bit. We're barely at this 528 support holding this up. We're seeing buyers trying to push us back up to 530. But if the day goes on and we end up losing 528, we're easily coming down to 525, if not the lower 520s. And if we manage to hold 528, we could try to rebound. We'll just have to see if we could reach back up above 531. If we break 531, we could remain bullish and push up for 535, 533, then 535. If we don't reclaim 531 and we just continue to fail, watch 528. If that fails, we turn back down. So it's very simple, guys. Lose 528 and we're bearish. That's also aligning with our 4-hour 20 EMA 528. Lose this, we turn bearish. We'll be looking for a dip. But if we hold above 528, I'll be looking for 531 as resistance. If that breaks, we turn back to bullish. Otherwise, we're just kind of range bound. So 531 is resistance and 528 as support are two levels to watch for. Whichever way we break will determine what the bigger move is going to be. And so far, the market is showing some signs of possibly rejecting, but watch which way we break just for confirmation. Nvidia has the same thing going on. Watch 108 as resistance. If we break that, we could be looking for a push for 110 to 112. If we end up losing 104 as support, we're going to be dipping back down towards 102, then 100. There's a possible rejection that could be forming right here, especially on the 4-hour time frame. So we just have to give this some time. But watch the support. I'm going to be watching to see if we could hold above 104. There is a risk of us dipping lower if that fails, all the way down to the lower 100s. So give this some time. Nvidia has been going back and forth between its structures so far. And there is, some signs of a possible rejection right here. So there's that risk of downside. But look at 104 for confirmation for a bigger drop. For Bitcoin, I just want to mention that Bitcoin's kind of rejecting. We're barely holding 60,400 as support. If that fails, Bitcoin's going to be coming down towards 59,500, all the way down to that imbalance. We got to reclaim it 60,500 to turn back up. Otherwise, this is at risk of downside. For ES, we have resistance currently at 53.37, and we have support at 5,300 flat. There is a risk of us dipping towards 5,300. If that breaks, I think there's going to be a bigger drop coming. Otherwise, we're just kind of range bound right now, so we'll see which way we break. There's a possible rejection off this bearish divergence that could be forming, and there is a risk of more downside, but watch 5,300 as key supports. If that breaks, there's going to be a bigger drop coming. Same thing with SPX. We're still fighting resistance. This could shift a little bit. We've been stuck in this range for quite some time. So if we break 53.25, we could try to push higher and try to fill this gap to 53. 38. And if we end up rejecting, watch 52.87 as support. If we lose that, there's going to be a dip coming, especially as we have this gap to fill on SPX. So watch to see if we get a rejection or not. If we do lose this green EMA right here, the 52.87 area, I think we might come down to fill the gap, and that could drag the market lower. So watch that critical support. For Tesla, we're kind of rejecting right now. Watch resistance at 198 and 200. If we reclaim 198, we could bounce. If we fail to hold 198, I see a risk of us coming down to 194. That's where this imbalance is, not to mention 192. So watch 198. If we reclaim that we're bullish, if we fail to do so, we're going to be dipping lower. So far, it looks like it's rejecting. It looks like it's favoring downside a bit more. The QQQ is barely holding 446. If this fails, let's watch 444. And if that fails, there's going to be a bigger dump all the way down to the low 440s. If we manage to hold above 446, we could rebound to 448 plus. So watch that critical support. If it fails, there's going to be a risk of downside to 444, if not even lower if that breaks. So we have two supports on the QQQ to watch for and resistance levels. Aapl has been on this very, very interesting trend right here. You guys can see it's been uptrending quite a bit, but the issue with Aapl is we're barely at support at 211, so it's looking like it could be forming kind of like a double top like structure. So if we lose 211 on Aapl, I think we're going to be dipping all the way down towards lower levels such as 207. If we hold 211, we could rebound. So we're just barely at support right here. We'll have to see if Aapl holds this or not. If it doesn't hold, it's going to be turning back down. So just be careful. This could be a failed wedge breakout attempt. I'm going to go over just a few more. The IWM has resistance at this 208 area. If we break 208, I think we could be pushing for 211. If we lose support at 205, there's going to be a dip coming all the way down towards 203, followed by the lower 200s. So watch 203 and the low 200s as support if 205 breaks. Look at 208 as resistance to turn bullish. Otherwise, there's a risk of us dipping even lower. For Coinbase, we're kind of rejecting right here. If we reclaim 192, we could try to bounce. If we don't do so, there's going to be a risk of dipping to at least 188. If that fails, it's going down to 184. So be careful with coin. Amazon's barely at support at 165. If we bounce off that, we have to break past 167 to turn bullish. If we lose 165, we turn bearish. So watch those levels. That's going to be your range. If 165 breaks, we're going back down to 162. So watch support just to see how well we move. Meta is barely holding this trend line right over here and these key levels. So look at support around this 500 area. If 500 breaks, I think that there's a risk of dipping all the way down towards basically 497 and then 493. And if we bounce off this, we could try to rebound for 510. I think that there is technically a risk of downside, but watch this trend just to see how we end up holding up. On Microsoft, we're barely holding our 50 EMA. If this holds, we could try to rebound for 406 plus. And if we reject here, we'll be dipping back down towards 400, even lower levels. We're in the middle right now on Microsoft. We're just range bound between 408 and then 395. So we're just going back and forth. If we lose 403, I do see a risk of downside for Microsoft. We're barely at support, so we'll see if it holds or not. And then we'd be dipping to the 390s again. Google is also very boring, very range bound, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If we don't hold above 160, look for 158. And if we try to rebound, look at 163 as resistance. So I'll just have to give this some time. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.